for this lesson, you need your story map that you finished from the last lesson, more paper for today's lesson, coloring pencils to color in your story map when you're finished, a ruler to draw your lines, a pencil and a rubber. I'm going to start by reading the story map that we came up with in the last lesson. Malala, lunchtime superhero. In the morning, Malala is shy. She plays with her Lego, paints pictures, and listens to music. Malala is such a shy little thing, say all the grown-ups. But they don't know that when it's lunchtime, Malala is a superhero. One afternoon, Malala receives an urgent text message from the mayor. Oh, I think I said Prime Minister in the last one. Sorry, guys. From the Prime Minister. A giant wedge of cheese is hurtling towards London. This is the next line in our story. Eliot sets off for the mountains in Tibet to find his rocket launcher that is hidden in a deep cave. I want to change this sentence so that it makes sense for my Malala story. So I'm going to change Eliot, because the character in my story is called Malala. Eliot sets off for the mountains in Tibet. I want my character to set off for a different location. So I'm going to change this bit to find, and my character's not going to have a rocket launcher. That's not her weapon. My character's going to have a different weapon up her sleeve. So I'm going to change this bit. And I'm going to change the bit about where her weapon is located. So for this part of your story, for the rest of your story, it's going to be very specific to what you have written about. So I'm going to do my example about Malala, and then you are going to use your own ideas to make your story about your character. I'm going to carry on using the story map that we did the other day because I have all this space and I don't want to waste it. I've seen that some of you wrote to the end of your page, so if that's the case, you just need to get a new piece of paper with some more lines. So I'm going to change Eliot because my character is named Malala. So I'm going to draw a picture of Malala and I will color it all in later. So Malala sets off for the mountains in Tibet. I want her to set off for a farm in Kent. So that's a place not far from here, and she's going to go to the farm because that's where her weapon is located. And then I'm going to draw some very basic looking sheep. There's my sheep, some feet and its ears, and when I color it in later they will look more like sheep. So Malala sets off for a farm in Kent to find her heat ray, because her heat ray is what's going to save London. This is my heat ray. I had to look on the internet for a picture of a heat ray because I wasn't quite sure what they look like. There's my heat ray. Malala sets off for a farm in Kent to find her heat ray that is hidden in, where can her heat ray be hidden? She's on a farm. What kind of places are on a farm? I think she's going to find it in a barn. So I'm going to draw a picture of a barn because that is where her heat ray is located. Here's a barn on a farm. Malala sets off for a farm in Kent to find her heat ray that is hidden in an old barn. Full stop. It's your turn now to write your sentence about where your character is going to go to find their weapon. So pause the video and draw the pictures for your sentence now. This is our next sentence. The only way to get there before the meteor strikes is by supersonic jet. For my story, I have to change this bit before the meteor strikes, the meteor bit, I'm changing that bit, and I'm going to change how she gets there. I really like the word strikes and I really like the word supersonics. I'm going to keep those words in my own story, and I think you should do the same. The only way to get there before the meteor strikes. In my story, what is coming to destroy London? It's the giant wedge of cheese. So that's how I have to change mine. The only way to get there before, I'm going to keep some of the same pictures that Miss Long did. The only way to get there before the cheese strikes is by, and I'm going to change jet, I'm going to keep supersonic, is by supersonic. What does she use to get there? I think she's going to take a scooter, a supersonic scooter. So I'm going to draw a picture of a scooter. I'm just doing this from memory, so it might not look like a scooter. There are the wheels and the big bar that goes there and the handlebar, and it's supersonic, so it goes really fast. The only way to get there before the cheese strikes is by supersonic scooter. And I need a full stop at the end. Now it is your turn. How is your character going to get there before the thing strikes? Off you go. This is our next sentence. Luckily, Eliot is a skilled jet pilot. We are going to change the name and this bit. So you have to think about how is your character getting to the place where they have to get their weapon. So Malala rides a supersonic scooter. So she's not a skilled jet pilot. She's going to be a skilled scooter rider. So my sentence is going to be, luckily, Malala is a skilled scooter rider. Luckily, Malala is a skilled, and for skilled I'm going to put a tick mark to show that she's really good at it. Then I'm going to draw the scooter. And then I'm going to draw her on the scooter. It's not an art lesson. There we go. And a full stop at the end. Luckily, Malala is a skilled scooter rider. Now it is your turn to write your version of this sentence. Off you go. The next line in our story is, he grips the controls and the wheels bump on the ground. Screech! I'm going to change mine to, I'm going to change this bit where it says he grips the controls, because in my story, I want Malala to squeeze the handlebars of her, not the handlebars, the brakes of her scooter. So that's the bit I'm going to change. He grips the controls. So that bit, I'm going to change it to, she squeezes the brakes and the wheels bump on the ground. I'm going to change this bit as well. I'm going to change that to, and the scooter comes to a stop. I want to keep the screech bit though, because I think that gives a really good picture in the reader's mind of how really, really quickly the scooter stopped. So I'm going to draw my pictures for this sentence. He grips the controls. So mine's going to be, she squeezes the brakes. I'm going to try to draw the handlebars of the scooter. So that's one bit where you put your hand, and the other bit where you put your hand. And I'm going to draw her fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are her fingers, squeezing the brakes. She squeezes the brakes and the scooter comes to a stop. I'm going to draw a stop sign. She squeezes the brakes and the scooter comes to a stop. And I'm going to write the word screech with loads of E's and an exclamation mark. She squeezes the brakes and the scooter comes to a stop. Screech! Now it is your turn to change this sentence to make it fit your own story. Off you go. Our next line is, Eliot scrambles out of the supersonic jet, up the cliff face and into the cave. So we pretty much have to change this entire sentence to make it fit our story. Malala scrambles out. I'm going to keep the word scrambles because I think that's a really good word to use. Malala scrambles out of the supersonic scooter. She doesn't go up the cliff face. In my story, where does she go? She goes to a farm. So she's going to run across the farm into, and her weapon isn't hidden in a cave. In Malala's story, it's hidden in a barn. So my sentence is going to be, let me just underline the bit I want you to change. Pretty much all of this. There we go. And that bit as well. My sentence is going to be, Malala scrambles out of the supersonic scooter, across the farm, and into the barn. So I'm going to draw those pictures now. Malala scrambles out of the scooter. And I'm going to draw an arrow out so it shows that she's scrambling out of the scooter. Then the picture of the farm field. My sheep. And then I'm going to draw an arrow going across. Malala scrambles out of the supersonic scooter, comma, across the farm and into the barn. This is my barn. Full stop. Malala scrambles out of the supersonic scooter, across the farm and into the barn. It is now your turn to draw the pictures for your sentence about your superhero getting to the place where their weapon is located. The last sentence that we're going to do today is, he swings the barrel of meteor-busting rocket launcher towards the meteor, holds his breath, and waits. For my story, her weapon isn't the meteor-busting rocket launcher. In my story, it's the cheese-melting heat ray. So I'm going to underline this bit because that is the bit that we're changing. I'm also actually going to change the word swings because in my story, she's not going to swing her heat ray. Busting rocket launcher, underline this whole thing because that's all the bit that you're changing. Towards the, not meteor in my story, it is a wedge of cheese. Holds his breath. You can keep this bit, but I want to change it to she closes her eyes. And we're going to keep the bit that says and wait, because that adds some suspense because you don't know what's going to happen next. So she, instead of the word swings, I'm going to say that she aims it. She aims, and for aims, I'm going to draw a picture of a dartboard with an arrow in it. She aims the cheese melting heat ray. I'm going to draw the same picture of the heat ray from before. She aims the cheese melting heat ray at the wedge. Oops. At the wedge, comma, closes her eyes. I'm going to draw some eyes that are closed. Eyelashes are facing the bottom. Closes her eyes and waits. Read it one more time. She aims the cheese melting heat ray at the wedge, closes her eyes and waits. It is now your turn to write the sentence about how your character is aiming their weapon at the thing that's about to attack. When you have finished this sentence, then you can color in the bit of the story map. Where is mine? You can color in all the bit of the story map that you have done today, and then practice reading the whole thing. Do you know what? I'm actually going to practice reading all of this one right now because we're nearly there. The next lesson is going to be the last 6 sentences. So far, this is our class example. Malala, lunchtime superhero. In the morning, Malala is shy. She plays with her Lego, paints pictures, and listens to music. Malala is such a shy little thing, say all the grown-ups. But they don't know that when it's lunchtime, Malala is a superhero. One afternoon, Malala receives an urgent text message from the Prime Minister. A giant wedge of cheese is hurtling towards London. Malala sets off for a farm in Kent to find her heat ray that is hidden in an old barn. The only way to get there before the cheese wedge strikes is by supersonic scooter. Luckily, Malala is a skilled scooter rider. She squeezes the brakes and the scooter comes to a stop. Screech! Malala scrambles out of her supersonic scooter, across the farm and into the old barn. She aims the cheese melting heat ray at the wedge, closes her eyes, and waits. I cannot wait to hear your version of the story. Bye, year 1.